Hello everybody, it is Badger Wild and we are back with another Space Engineers video. This time checking out the new autonomous animations beta. Managed to get on that. If you haven't been able to get on there yet, you still have time. It's a week-long event. Go into your, if you're going to get on for Steam, go on to Steam, select your Space Engineers game, select properties, then go to betas and select the new autonomous beta and you can get on. There is no limit to who can get on the beta, and anyone can get on and mess around with this thing and have some fun. So, the beta. What do I think of it? Well, I'll have to say I am moderately impressed. Weapon wise, I'm very impressed. Tracking wise, it leaves a little bit to be desired. There are some problems with the whole system. One problem in particular comes from the fact the beta seems to have difficulty uh, running a lot of these. I've had my computer crash a lot using this, but it is a beta, so I mean, I can't. It's the beta. I can't complain about a beta doing beta things. But just to show you guys what effectiveness you've got, is here's just a simple drone that I have built, and for size comparison, you can see the actual size of my character. This is very small, and this system right here can easily be converted into a missile, uh, a rocket, used as a drone. It's a very small, very simple. I may actually take this Mark 1 variant and put it up on the workshop so you guys can test it out. I want to put it on the web workshop and then I don't, because for one thing, I don't know what changes are going to be made after the beta. There are, like I said, there are things that are wrong with the beta. There are certain things that are not operating properly. So I don't know if they will change something in the beta or not. There's also, I've heard talk that this may not be the final in-game product, so to speak. But anyway, to give you guys an idea of how this thing works, because I want to show you how deceptively simple this is. I've got one rotor messed up right there, one gyro messed up. But you can see this is just a fairly compacted drone with a lot of cheap materials built into it. It's fairly cheap. It has a remote control block. I can remote control this thing. I can move it around. I can use the camera here to control it and move it. The camera is not necessary for the drones, which is very cool because you can put a massive amount of armor in the front of this thing, and it could almost be impossible to kill it. I mean, they're very effective. Even these small drones here, I have built them so that I can just drop them off of a ship because I wanted to see just how small I can make a drone. And as cheap as these things would be in game, you could print one up, and the later version I'm going to be able to like fill them up with ammunition, stuff like that. I'm going to have a spot right about in here where I can put ammunition in. But the point of this little experiment here was to see how small and narrow, and I built them small and narrow so they'd be very hard to hit. You see from just straight on, this is a very narrow profile. In fact, most of the damage usually happens to the camera or the front thruster and maybe the armor in the front. These things can take a beating and keep going, and they're cheap. So you can, if there was a way I could put ammunition inside of this without losing, if I could just store ammo in this without having any problems, I would do it. And there may be a way to do that eventually. But this can be easily converted into a cruise missile if you want. You could just take the front section here and move it. And then just, instead of a deal here, just add a couple of bombs right in here, move a few of this back, and just let the thing fly in. Like I said, this is the Mark 1 variant. This is just the first attempt at making a drone like this. Now, how impressed am I with the beta? Well, combat-wise, it's amazing. If you see these things go out, I have crashed my computer. A lot of the crashes that have happened to my computer is just the fact that I've been throwing drones at a target and just watching them rip into it because it's wildly entertaining for some reason. I may have some sociopathic tendencies. I am exercising and getting out of my system while doing this, but As far as like the other options, I've done the following, which is moderately helpful. I had a situation with it where it will not go, or it couldn't it couldn't pathfind its way around an asteroid. Um, but as far as turning these things loose, and I'm not going to do any tutorials on how to do this. For those of you that are wanting to know how to do it in the beta, I'll just give you a quick rundown. All of your system is going to be based on this block right here. And this particular block, I believe this is the movement block, this is the foundation for all the other blocks that you have in here. So for example, let me pull up the block here, AI block. Everything starts with AI flight. And when you put it in, you have to get the left and the right at the right position, because wherever this F is facing, that's the direction your drone's going to go. Can you... Now, what happens next is everything you want to do afterward requires some combination. So, as far as, the defensive actions of this drone, it being an AI offensive combat and it going in and attacking, these drones that I've built here with a fixed weapon, they're great for probably launching at a target and just doing pursuit, because they will run something down. They are about as relentless as the in-game drones are. So if you've got a particularly idiotic enemy or an idiotic player who is taking you to task and you deploy 5 or 6 of these things after them, yeah, they're going to run that joker down until either they die or run out of power. So either they're going to kill him completely, or they're going to run out of power and kill it. It's basically a horse that'll run itself to death. That's what this thing is. So as far as like seek something out and kill it, yeah, I'm wildly impressed with this. Now, when you do this, you've got all these other options here. You've also got a movement. This controls whether or not you're going to your robot will follow you, your drone will follow. This is where you do the follow thing, and it does all these extra tasks and everything like that. This here is your AI recorder. I haven't really messed with this very much because it's really one of the more complicated of all the blocks, and I just really I'm the beta. I haven't had a chance to test it out. Tomorrow, though, Monday, I'll have plenty of time to test it because I'll be off all day. But right now, no, I don't have the time right now. But the impressive part of this, if you're wanting to know the right direction to put your blocks in, this is what I will tell you right now. Your line should be on the side, and I think, yeah, so your line should be on the side, and there will be something like a signal or something in the front. This will show F, which shows in the front, or sometimes there will be signal. I don't know if that has any effect. I've just been lining them up with each other with the signal section pushed forward. But as you do this, you can give it different things. With the combat AI block, for instance, you can go in and just go into AI combat mode. Now, here's the thing about AI combat. You have to add weapons like you do in the vanilla turret control block. And another thing also, turrets will work with these, and if you're building a defensive drone that will engage enemy targets and then come back after a certain distance, a turreted drone, a little bit more expensive, more heavily armored turret drone is more preferable than these drones that I've got here, because these are disposable. This is something you mount to your ship and you launch off. I even had a variant of this where I put a ammunition store on the side of it. And I'm kind of probably, if we're in space, I'm probably going to use these things for a myriad of options. Because this drone design is actually pretty good. It's cheap. I'm probably just going to mount it to the bottom of a ship or something and then deploy it and send it out, or mount it inside of a ship, and then you can just take this thing and deploy it. And they fly pretty good. I mean, going back here for a second, and let's do the control. Let's do remote access. I'm going to say this was the one I want to take over. I've got the ability to run this. This moves really well. It also fires quite effectively. You can see him move here. It's quite a quick little drone that can get to speed and get to 100 meters per second, and it moves very effectively. I don't want to hit my other ship right there, so we're just going to put him right there and be done. But yeah, can I access this? Yeah, you would just have to, when you're using, if you want to take remote control of a drone at any point in time, all you have to do is put your remote control block in there, and then there is a, well, let me take remote control of this one again. And there is a thing here with your AI offensive combat, let's say AI flight movement, and you put this here. There is a thing here that says AI behavior on and off. You can thus turn the AI behavior on and off, which will shut down the AI entirely. And then if you back out and then retake control of the drone, you will have control of the drone again yourself. Then you simply turn it back on and then back out, and the drone will reactivate and operate like it normally would, following things around and engaging. Like I said, I'm not doing a tutorial on this because I don't know what changes will be made. They may add a block here before long, because I think they're going to have to add a block, because this does not work with rovers. I have seen some people say they put thrusters on there and the rover worked. I haven't tried that yet. But to show you just how effective this is, let me delete this one here. And we're going to delete him as well. And I'm going to take away one gyro on this, just so I can add the basic task block, which we have right here. Make sure there's also an arrow on the bottom which points in the direction I think this is supposed to go. So we'll throw this on and I'll show you how to do just a quick programming for a drone that not only follows me, but will also engage targets. Now, we go over here to control panel. First things first is AI movement. You have to determine how this thing's going to operate. If you're in space and the alignment with P gravity is on, this thing does not work properly. You will... at one point, I thought Clang had taken over one of my drones, and I could not figure out how I clanged this thing. But this has to be selected if it is on a planetary gravity. If it's in space, you kind of want to kick it off. You have a speed limiter here. You can turn this up, and that'll limit the speed. Collision avoidance is actually really necessary for like a swarm drone. So if you want to send in drones that'll swarm a target, this is really necessary, because instead of flying in, they'll actually get a distance between each other. And they'll get a safe distance where their thrusters will not be damaging each other, and they'll be far enough apart where it won't be a problem. So I would suggest turning collision avoidance on, kicking up the speed limit if you want it to go fast. And then what you do next is you click on AI behavior. Now this says status idle. It goes from idle to behavior disabled. We're now in idle mode. Error, no movement input. Please activate a task or combat block. Now, we have two of these blocks. Now, what I normally do is I will activate the combat if I'm doing a combat one. And what you do first is you want to get your weapon in there. Nothing is more deflating than having your drone take off towards a target and realize it doesn't have access to its weaponry, and it won't shoot no matter what you do. You can set the circle distance depending on the type of area. One thing I will tell you, if you're doing a combat drone, you want to set the target search interval to 5 seconds. Otherwise, it'll take a full 30, almost half a minute for it to realize, and it'll just fire into nothing. And this is also another bug that I ran into while we're at it. If you do these drones, you are going to want the ability to hop into the drone and go to your gun on it, or guns, and turn the shoot off. Because sometimes, and this is something that I've mentioned to Keen, sometimes the drone will just start shooting, and when the target is dead, it will just continue firing. And the problem with this, and this is why I said the fixed gun drones are not something you want to come back to you. You kind of want to use them as a pursuit destroyer. Just send them out and let them go die. Because once they start firing, if this glitch happens, they keep shooting till they run out of ammunition. And I have been killed by my own drones turning around and coming back to follow me. So the best thing I would say is, if you're going to have a defensive drone, one that follows around and watches you, build it with turrets, because the turrets will stop activating. even the turret control blocks will do much better than the fixed guns. So I would say do that. Let's see. Oh yeah, we're going back to this. So AI combat, you can tell it to attack enemies. I usually leave that normal. You can have it target characters. They're pretty effective. You can have it attack the closest target, the largest target, or the smallest target. So you can have some drones that are just there to... So you got rocket drones, and you're going into a mixed battle, and you want rocket drones that take out the big ships, and you want drones to take out the fighters or other drones. You can set the smaller ones to take out the smallest targets. This here takes out the largest target. And when they're done, they'll corral around the enemy and they'll all be fighting out. Normally, I just set it to the closest because I've just been testing things out. Search interval, like I said, you want to put it to 5 seconds because that's how many times it corrects itself. So every 5 seconds, it will make a correction. It will determine where the target is and correct itself in fighting it. Down here, we've got threatened subsystems on this one, which is like weapons, propulsion, power systems, things like that. And this is one of the more difficult blocks that I've done. I'm just going through like a tutorial for you guys. Normally, I would say do weapons or propulsion because then it will specifically target engines, and nothing's better than crippling an enemy ship and completely taking out all their weapon systems. It will actually stop. It'll actually sometimes stop if that glitch doesn't happen. And then you have attack pattern. Hit and run is probably a really good one. And then when you do, you've got to set up your stuff. So like I'm going to set the break off distance to 2. Let's do this. We'll set break off to 200. Retreat distance. I don't want it to go that far away. We'll set that to 400. Retreat timeout. We'll set that for 4 seconds. Retreat angle, I'm not going to worry about it. And pass over here, if it's in planetary gravity, that's something you need. Now to activate this, we go up here and we hit AI behavior on. You'll also notice if you check back, you have a movement status. Now if we go to here, we've got this AI basic task. And I'm going to have it follow me at a distance of 30 meters. Which is not that far away. And I've got to follow, pressing on. Now, all that done, right there, and let me show you how this thing works. I get back over 30 meters, so you can see he turns. It's like, okay, buddy, where are you going? And it just starts coming my direction. So, like I said, if you want to take over this thing, simply press K, go to remote access, take control. And right now I can't do anything to him. But if I were to take all these and put AI behavior on and off to where I could turn them on and off. So if y'all want to shortcut some of this, do that, click them all off, and then I now have control of the drone. This is me controlling it. If I want to turn it back on, there we go there, up, and I back out. You can see the drone is now turning and engaging. So this is actually a really cool system. If you want to send a drone to somebody, you can send it. I know you can probably send this thing to another player, put like a care package on it, or maybe some supplies. You can send them to them in that. Some people have made larger drones that have more guns. I have made drones with like 6 or 7 guns. I mean, just they're fun. But so now you can see here how a couple of these can just be kind of a nightmare. Now, if I get out of the range, I'll cut that first part out. Those of you who are watching right now, I've cut that out, and you're just watching this thing engage that. You see now the turret's trying to engage the other targets, and they're going to engage and pull back and move back out. I don't want to put any more in because usually this will cause a crash. But you can see right now they're fairly accurate, and they just move in and out, striking target. You can see one down there is shooting. It's lost its antenna, but it's still fighting. You can see more of them are coming in and attacking. and they're fairly accurate. When you're launching these against a big ship, they will absolutely start ripping things apart. It's wild to see them take on like a pirate ship or something to that effect, and they just start really tearing it to pieces. See, right now it's trying to figure out what to shoot. The turret is over here, and these things, you can actually set these things to the minimum range of what this turret is at, and then have them come in. I don't know if they would engage or not, but they would come in and fight. You can have decoys come in there and just slow circle around a target while the rest of them come in and just start ripping and shredding the target. You can see right now we've got a detonation here. But if you got something like this with shooting a large target, it will begin to just rip them apart. And mostly the reason this is having trouble is because this thing is so small. Like I said, this is a very small target, and it has trouble hitting smaller targets, but they don't have trouble hitting bigger targets. If you want something that will do damage to the bigger target, however, I don't know. I think this one will operate and do what it's supposed to. Let me see. This one has actually a turret on it. So it does, yes. So this is the bigger one I was talking about. This one has 2 guns, and it actually has a turret, and this is where I said having a turret on some of these would just be absolutely terrifying. Because it goes in, and it has way more accuracy. It can do way more damage. But this is the type of deployable defensive drone you want. And now we're starting to see, I think, a glitch coming on here. No, it's fighting like it's supposed to. Like I said, putting a turret on these things, they're just mini ships now. That's what they are. And you have a lot more leeway with these than you do any other ship. In short, this thing can do a lot more. You see right now, it's gone to its limit. It's moved back. All the other ones are kind of moving around now. You see shooting happening over there. I think one of these is lost its mind and it's just constantly shooting. The gun glitch did not have them, but you see, having a bunch of these things just come in and attack, I think they're all coming. Yeah, they're coming back to me now. Targets destroyed. They have gone back to their protocol of follow Badger. Here they come. This is a little freaky. Because you imagine you're out there in space and you're welding up your ship and you turn and look and here comes these little Tylenol pills coming at you. I feel like what was it? The Air Force when they ran into those Tylenol pill UFOs that were just flying as fast as they were. Now suddenly these things show up and they're like, "What are you doing here? Are you a good guy or a bad guy?" And they do bump into each other and stuff like that. But they work. I mean, where's this guy going? You got one right there just floating along. He's like, I've run out of hydrogen. But anyway, yeah, I hope you guys are checking this out. If you haven't checked out this little deal, do so. Like I said, these are small drones meant to harass a target. You can just line them up on your ship with probably a merge block, have them loaded up with ammunition and turn them loose. And their entire purpose is to go in, attack, and harass the enemy and just screw with them the whole time. So basically to make them panic. And I have been on in-game ships and have these things start attacking, and it's starts engaging a fight or flight response when I'm watching. I have to remind myself it's not my ship being torn apart. But these things here, I'll put the Mark 1 up there so you guys can take a look at it and play with it a little bit. I'll make the modifications so you can make it follow you as well, or you guys can do whatever you want with these. The little drone itself, even without the drone modification, as a remote controlled drone, this is perfect. You could probably get this thing in some ships and get it to move around and whatnot. And there's another one who's out of hydrogen. He's just circling us right now. I don't know what he's doing, but you see right here, they're just like little puppies almost. When you're playing with them, you kind of get fond of them, and I have to remember I made this thing to be disposable. I'm sorry, you guys may die, but you will definitely fight to the end. And if these things manage to survive, you could, and they run off someone and they defeat them, or they kill the guy. Any of them that are left, you could just take remote control of them, roll them back, set them up, or you could put a block in there to bring them back. Like I said, I haven't messed with the record block to get these things to come back to base like they should. But I tell you what, something I would also think of. There was a guy one time on, what was it, Last Stand Gamers servers, on one of Aaron's servers, who actually built a large ship miniature version of the Rosadane, and they had fighters that came out looking like, not the Rosadane, of the Donager, and came out with fighters that looked like the Rosadane, and you could do that. You could start deploying remote drones that look like the Rosadane with about 6 guns on them and a set of missile launchers, and then just turn them on to automation after you deployed them, and these things would just go out and fly with the ship if you wanted them to. And then when they needed to be repaired or healed, or filled up with hydrogen or whatever you had in them, you just turn them off, take back remote control, put them inside, dock them, let them fill back up and recharge, and then undock them and send them out. You pretty much have your own carrier fleet, basically, of drones. And these little ships would just fight at first glance. And this is something else I noticed. At first glance, these things look like a larger ship, and then they get closer, and you're like, no, they're smaller. Oh crap! And they are. I have not tested them against people, but I'm pretty sure this would be a terrifying thing to run into, especially if you had like 4 or 5 of them just looking to bust you in the face and kick your teeth in. These things can do it, and you can just mount them onto like the wing. You can just take them to like the Sentinel, for instance, the Sentinel class. If I could put the locking mechanism to lock them in place, just set a few them on, or just put some landing gear locks, just some magnetic plates, and just set them up against it and have them just start locking into the bottom of the bottom. Oh, there's an idea. I could put magnetic plates on the bottom of these things and stick them to the bottom of the Sentinel just all over the place, and then just launch them whenever I wanted to start screwing with something. But yeah, once you turn them on, you could start activating the drones individually and have them numbered, like Fox 1, Fox 2, Fox 3, Fox 4, and just start launching them at a target. And all it would take to launch them. You can also do this with missile, like the interceptor system. You could just load these up with, you can load the front of this with a bunch of warheads. And to make it work a little bit easier, you could just take that front thruster off there and just replace it with a hydrogen thruster. That's not hooked up to anything, and then the system just recognizes it has a hydrogen thruster, but it doesn't understand why it won't stop it. So when it locks onto a target, it just starts accelerating and it hits it at full speed, and then it just punches right clean through it. Like I said, you don't need a camera. I have that for just so I can take control, because like right now, this is one of the reasons I have remote control access to these things right now, because if you try to get close to this thing, sometimes it wants to turn and look at you when you get close, and it's hard to get to this back section of the ship. So I probably will put this thing up today, actually. That way you guys can take this drone, play around with it. You can swap the blocks out and just mess around with the thing, and it will work perfectly. By the time this video comes up, I'll have that up, and I'll have a link to it. So if you guys want to play around with it, I'll paint this thing some colors. I'll paint it like black and yellow, give it a menacing look to it. Yellow jacket colors. Here come the murder hornets. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video and found it informative. Be sure to leave me a like and comment on the video. Tell me about things that you're thinking about doing with it. What will you use this drone system to do? What will you use the drone blocks? Are you ready for it when the whole system comes out? And as always, I am Badger Wild, saying stay safe, stay frosty. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys next time.